Hey guys, I finally did it. It's not on my main account, but I still managed to finally beat 2-6 on this account, and it's taken me days, honestly. Just this is the hardest piece of content in the game, hardest stage in the game, insanely difficult, and there is no Ardea on the account. So it was really hard, but I got it done. So I'm very excited to show you guys how I did it. This is not a guide. I am not telling you guys replicate it this exact way. It is very specific to my situation on this account. Thank you to AJ for letting me use his account for this, but it's been a struggle. And that's mostly because we're missing a lot of key units. If I had Elder, it would have been done ages ago. If I had Ardea, probably would have been done ages ago. If I had something like Edith, probably would have been done ages ago. But because I don't have those heroes, I had to build the heroes I have on the screen very differently. I had to kind of tweak the strategy and I had to change it up a ton. So let me just kind of explain the team a little bit. So Hars is just there as an emergency tank for the end. He will barely get placed. He's mostly there for the Lord bonus and emergency tank. Rokir is there for the bottom main tank, since he does have unyielding and very high stats. He's able to be kept alive very easily. And also, he's there so that when we eventually don't kill something at the end and it blows up, because that's how some of the mechanics work, I'll explain it very shortly, Rokir will survive. And that's very important. Nocturne is there for the left, so for those of you who don't know, there are two parts where two different types of damage is needed. One is the left side, which is where we will be using Nocturne, where it will alternate from having a physical damage one where you have to do normal damage to it, and then it'll swap to, the next time it comes around, a magic one, and then you need Nocturne. You could use Sulkadins, you could use, you know, a couple other things. As long as it's a really strong single target mage or magic damage, then you're going to be fine on the left. And then you want to bring someone else like a Valeria, which is pretty much required, and I'll explain why in a second. Maybe not fully required, but definitely very important. And then on the top, the same thing. It comes in and it'll actually start with a magic one, and then it'll go physical, magic, physical, boom. There's 4 of each, and it's a lot of work to deal with. So Nocturne's going to be there for the left. Olag is there for the top to be the tank. He's going to be placed right here and essentially tank this entire lane on his own. I'm using Olag specifically because he regens his shields, and as long as you have Elowen sprites, it's going to keep him alive and help. Next we got Hex. Hex is there to kill the magic ones that come up in the top middle, and we're going to be cycling him a ton. He's going to have to be built for a lot of damage. Then we got Torador. Torador there is for his Lord skill and also to tank the left. I will be placing him here to tank the left, and he's going to do a great job. And he's also there to boost nightmare units. You can use Wrath, but Torador obviously is better. And then we have Hatsit. Hatsit is going to be the main DPS right here at the top. She's both going to do physical damage to the physical damage ones below her, because she will be face left. And then she's also going to deal with everything above her. We're going to have her built so that she doesn't kill everything immediately, and she gets to use 2 ults to kill everything, and she's going to be really good. She's also built with this. I will go more into the builds in a second, but we have the Ichor Chalice, very important. And then Volca will be the DPS for the bottom. She's not fully skilled or anything, but she still works. She will cover the entire bottom alongside Brokir and Elowen, who's going to go right here, who is for the rage regen globally, and also for her sprite to heal everyone up here. And yeah, so that's how you kind of do it. And Valeria, as I mentioned before, will be on the left to deal the physical damage. And this was very difficult, very hard, and I'm very excited to show you guys how I did it. So let's get into it. So this was taken from a recent stream I did. If you want to watch the whole attempts, you can go ahead. But essentially what you do is you want to do Elowen, Volca to give Volca Invig, and then you want to kind of be careful after this. I'm not going to place Brokir purely because I want to save his unyielding for later, because it's very important for later on. But we do need to kill this guy right here, so I'm just going to place Hex and then Hars. If you're going to do it this way, you do have to build with a lot more HP on all of your heroes, just in case. If you have Edith, you don't have to pull anyone. As you can see, it buffs the boss a little bit. but this is what I had to do. And also in this run I had A5 Eloin, so just to get a little bit of cost, I keep placing down the sprites, the things that Eloin makes, and then I sell them, click Alt, and then do the same thing. Valeria will be covering the left side, as I mentioned earlier, as you will right here. And then at the bottom, Volca and Brokir should be completely fine to clear everything ahead of us. At the top, once again, we have Ollog, and then we also have Hex. Hex you want to kind of place as soon as you can to get as much of the damage out as possible before you put down Hatchet, just in case. And also what you saw on the left there with Valeria is you want to let her die in her ult. You want to let her die on her own terms because it doesn't buff the boss at all. That's why Valeria is so much better than something like a Sylas, is purely because of that. Now we trigger Hatchet ult, and then she's going to build another one before we pull her. And speaking of pulling, we're going to pull Hex as soon as the Volca dies. I know it's going very fast, but I was very fed up at this point with all these attempts after attempting for so long. So that's why it's going so fast. Nocturne there, you ult to kind of just kill the person that's not immune to magical damage, and then Volca, Brokir fine on the bottom. Hatchet, you click your ult as soon as you can. You should be able to clear both the Volca clone and also the people above her, and it should be fine. Here, after this bloodbath, I like to place Valeria on the top left because I know she will live. And this is where the timing gets a bit tricky. So after you Hatchet ult, you want to trigger Valeria ult really earlier than you think you need to, as you can see right there. And then essentially what's going to happen is you want her to die really early so that you're able to use Hex. Now, if you're using something like Ardea or Volca on the bottom, you are going to have to change it up. But because we're using Volca, she actually can't hit the explodey guys on the bottom. So that is why I am leaving Nocturne. You can pull Nocturne if you're using Ardea or Arrogance. Arrogance needs to be A5, I'm pretty sure. But for this, we're going to leave Nocturne down because he will be useful in a little bit. So that's really nice. But as you can see, clearing everything pretty good. At the top here is the part that's really annoying, where you have to essentially kill the Volca clone with Hex right there. Otherwise you cannot win, because you need to have that thing dead right around this point. Otherwise it'll detonate and kill everyone on the screen. And then you also need to clear everything with Hatchet and pull her. And then she's going to be useful on the bottom to clear the final waves. Next, we're going to just kind of stall out a little bit as best you can. Because we have Nocturne still, I'm not too worried about the red Volca clone, but the purple one on the top, you can actually let live. Part of the reason why we have Brokir and Yielding, still is because when the purple clone up there on the top right explodes, Brokir will not actually die and will continue to tank for a while. Eloin dies here, which was kind of a slip up on my part. Generally she wouldn't, or you don't really want her to. But overall, it should be fine. Torador's going to revive, while Nocturne's going to be able to finish everything, and it's going to go perfectly fine. So, the bottom, we're just stalling out. We're trying to kill everything that splits before we kill the explodey guy, just so that they don't kill everyone in the bottom until they're the only character left, or the only enemy left, I should say. And it's going pretty well. So, we're just essentially stalling on the top left with Torador. We're stalling on the bottom as well while trying to do enough damage so that we don't split. And then as soon as the explodey guy blows up, we're probably going to win. And here we go. It's just the explodey guy left, and we've essentially won at this point. Because the second we killed them, and they're about to kill the rest of our team, we're going to just have won instead. So it's going to go fine. So that's how you beat it, at least the way that I did it. The cost is fine if you don't have A5 Eloin. If you just have like an A0, it should still work, but your gear has to be really good. Speaking of the gear, I will go over the gear very shortly, but here's all the stats. I was in disbelief during the stream. It was incredibly shocking. So without further ado, let's get into the gear really quick. So Hars has a pretty normal tank set. He does have more defense than HP, but it doesn't matter since it's not placed for long. We do want Bashing for the extra block. Similar story to Brokir, but his gear obviously is a lot better because he is our main tank on the bottom. We have Bashing as well for the block. Nocturne, you do want to build him extra tanky. I have kind of DPS gear on the left, which Immortal Warrior, so he's able to tank a little bit better. Pretty normal Soulbound Arcana set. You could do Infernal Roar, Aegis Wrath, Soulbound Arcana, as long as it does enough damage. Max Tier of Twilight is recommended. And then we have Olog, who is also in a normal DPS set. HP could be a little bit higher, but it's fine. Basher Ring, once again, because it's the best tank artifact. Hex can be built in one of 3 ways. You want him in mostly attack. You want all of your DPS in mostly attack. Nocturne doesn't matter so much, but the other ones you want to go straight full attack. As you can see, attack, attack, attack. You want to build them with a decent amount of HP. I would recommend a little bit more HP, but it doesn't really matter too much. Some good attack, and then you could either do Ageless Wrath, Soulbound Arcana, or even Infernal Roar, because he's not going to get that many Soulbound Arcana stacks when he's out, since you are cycling him, so keep that in mind. You do want his exclusive. Ideally, it is a lot harder without, but you can use a Max Spirit Siphon, and it should work. Corridor is in a normal DPS set as well. Not too crazy stats, but still pretty good, and a Basher Ring as always. Hatchet, you have to be very specific, so you want her with a lot of HP, which is why we have a DPS set on the left, which has HP, Immortal Warrior, and then on the right, you want to build her with tons of attack bonus. So mine actually had closer to this gear, as you can see right here, focusing mostly on attack. But for the auto, because you do have to actually set the auto, since it is very delicate at the end, I made her a bit weaker, just because pod makes some complications, so keep that in mind. And then you want an Ichor Chalice. I do recommend 3 notches, or whatever it's called, so you get 4% of the hero's max HP, but it doesn't really matter that much. Volca has to have the best Infernal Roar set you can put on her, ideally more attack than crit damage and stuff. You could probably put on something else here, but you do want a little bit of HP as well. So the gear is pretty solid, but not too crazy. She is not max skilled. She is somewhat skilled since I did need to, but yeah. Valeria is in whatever Infernal Roar you can muster and doesn't need to be built that well. And then I do have a Lunacy Visor just in case, although it didn't make a big difference. And then Elowen, you want to build with a lot of HP and some, healing stats as normal. So that's how you gear everyone. And yeah, so it was a very, very fun experience to figure it out. Very, very frustrating. Kind of pissed me off a little bit. I don't like how hero dependent and restrictive it is. But if you do have some of the heroes, like you need Hatchet, you need Elowen, you need Valeria. Well, you don't need Valeria, but you pretty much do. You pretty much need Hex. It's a bit rough, but if you can somehow do it, it is very, very fun, very, very entertaining. And I hope this helps anyone out there who needs any help, or just shows an example of what the hardest stage in the game is, because this was hell, and I am never doing this again unless people pay me money. I'm kidding, obviously. But yeah, so thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. Make sure to like and subscribe. Helps me out a ton. And yeah, that's about it for me. Destin, signing out.